coming up on the podcast. And it's like, I don't know, it's like writers can't handle women in their menopause, and especially TV writers. So we're either ancient, we're either old, or we're young. There's no middle age. No one wants to deal with a woman going through her menopause or talking about it. So usually the characters in TV series, or they are kind of this age, and it's just glossed. No one even mentions it. You're listening to the Book Nerd Podcast, a virtual book club for readers of mystery, thriller and suspense novels. Twice a month I will bring you a short discussion about what makes a great thriller novel, as well as latest reads over a cup of tea. And who am I? I'm your host, cozy mystery writer and thriller author Amelia D. Hay. Hello book lovers. As you can tell from the title of this episode, I'm going to discuss the Agatha Raisin television show on Acorn TV versus the books. In order to avoid spoilers, I'm going to focus on how Agatha is portrayed, not the events in the show and novels. Fingers crossed I stick to my notes and this show remains as spoiler-free as possible. You get it. I've tried to not ruin things for you, but just be aware I could slip up and start talking plot. Before we get started, I should also point out that I've watched season 1 and 2, but not 3, because I couldn't purchase it on Amazon Prime Video. It's only available on the Acorn TV streaming service. Actually, this isn't true anymore. I've caught up since I wrote this script and I'm re-watching season 1. There's currently season 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we finished watching season 4 and it recommended the quiche of death again, which is the pilot episode. It's not officially a part of season 1, and I thought, ooh, maybe I want to watch that. And then I got trapped into watching season 1 again. So, you know, the things you do as a podcaster. But I'm glad I did this because it's refreshed my memory and it's reaffirmed a few of the things that I've said in the script that I definitely still hold to be true. And I'm also hoping to keep this as a short episode. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Just a quick disclaimer, I almost forgot to share this with you. So the Agatha Raisin books that I'll be talking about were purchased with my own money and were not gifted to me by publicists, publishers or agents, and naturally all the opinions in this episode are my own. So before we dive into, I'm going to start with the positive, because no matter what, I really enjoyed both the TV series and the books. I think it would be unfair to say I hated the TV series. So what I love about Agatha Raisin in the novels. So in the novels, she's middle-aged and she has this not-so-perfect body. She's also a bit man-crazy or man-obsessed. And along with this, she has insecurities which lead her to make cringeworthy decisions. On top of this, she has a not-so-glamorous smoking habit. But back to being middle-aged and having a not-so-perfect body. Because she's middle-aged, I would say she's in her 50s, I think, in the book. And she suffers from menopause. And she's going through menopause. And she talks about this. Also, pimples and stuff like this. She's a middle-aged woman. And usually the female protagonists in books, there aren't too many that are middle-aged and going through menopause. They're seemingly perfect, and it's really irritating. And what I love about Agatha Raisin in the books is she's not perfect, but she is. You can tell that she's a very successful person, and she's used to really going after something and getting it. And she's realized that this doesn't quite work the same in her love life, because not everything falls into place. And I think sometimes with these female protagonists, they have especially in the mystery genre, they can be, perfect, and it's really irritating. Now let's talk about the TV show. What is Agatha like in the TV show? So there's no nice way to say this, but Agatha has been Hollywoodified. All of these things, for me, not that I'm going through menopause, that made her relatable in the books and interesting, they've been, taken away, and she's Hollywoodified. The woman that plays her is Ashley Jensen, and she's a perfect blonde. I mean, in the TV show, she looks like she's in her 40s and not 50s. Thus, there's no mention to her struggles with menopause. And it's like, it's like writers can't handle women in their menopause, and especially TV writers. So we're either ancient, we're either old, or we're young. There's no middle age. No one wants to deal with a woman going through her menopause or talking about it. So usually the characters in TV series, or they are kind of this age, and it's just glossed. No one even mentions it. And it's just, I don't consider myself a feminist, but this really bothers me that they've taken this away. She also has perfect blonde hair with a body to match. So the character says, I'm big boned when people struggle to pick her up. But visually, it doesn't make sense because Ashley Jensen, she looks perfect. And the character in the TV series works out. So it's just like she looks perfect. She's got a tiny waist. I'm jealous. And this woman is like I guess the character sort of looks like she's around my age. Maybe older. Maybe she's older. And she's practically flaw-free. And as I was trying to allude to, what I liked about her in the novels is that these flaws make her a relatable character. She has struggles. She doesn't get everything right. And I liked that. And because she's flaw-free, naturally she has no insecurities. And the biggest thing that really bugs me, I'm going to have to actually break my rule about no plot, but she doesn't seem to be too bothered by James's feelings for her in the early stages, and quote unquote wants to stay single. And this is what she says to James during one of the episodes in season 1. And then the other thing, I guess this isn't really related to Agatha Raisin. It kind of is. But James proposes out of the blue. For a bachelor who's scared of settling down, he proposes to her out of the blue. And it doesn't make sense. And they've literally kissed once. And that was, I can't talk about it, but they kissed once and that was all. And I sort of couldn't help thinking that Agatha Raisin in the books would have been alarmed by that. Oh no, maybe she wouldn't have actually, because she was so obsessed with James, she would have just accepted it anyway. And by the way, this sort of Hollywoodified thing that I'm talking about with Agatha, it's not just her, it's all the characters are younger than their book counterparts. They've made it so cozy mystery, it's ridiculous. As I've alluded to, the television show is fun in a light-hearted way. It's almost a cozy mystery, whereas the books are more of an amateur sleuth turned private investigator mystery, because what triggers her is she puts the quiche in the show, she's blamed for someone's murder, and she's forced to figure out who done it so she can cast the blame off her and onto the rightful person. This is why she sort of starts off investigating murder. And the same thing happens too, but it's definitely cozy. And I think this is what makes the TV series still enjoyable, but it's just, I think they've taken away what makes the characters memorable and they've replaced it with something that's easier on the eyes, is the best way I can describe it. And it does bother me to a certain extent that all the characters are sweet and practically perfect in every way, with the exception of the people that commit the crimes. naturally. And this is a hallmark of the cozy mystery genre. And I think perhaps the reason why they're doing that is cozy mysteries, it is quite a hot genre, and a lot of people do like it because it's an easy read. There's no gore, blood, sex, or swearing. Whereas an amateur sleuth kind of mystery, you can have a bit of blood, gore, swearing, and profanity. I certainly have the occasion. My character does use profanity, but he does it in French instead of English. And some of the characters, they do swear, because some of them they would, if you were to meet these people in real life, they kind of do, you would expect that. And part of the reason why MC Beaton doesn't market her books, or the publisher didn't market her books as a cozy mystery, is because of Agatha Raisin as a character. Even though I like Agatha Raisin in the books, she's not perfect, and she makes cringeworthy decisions that I just, you shake your head at and you think, why are you doing this to yourself? Why? Didn't you learn from the last time? Why are you chasing after this person who doesn't deserve you? And you do that in real life, and I think this is what makes her, this is why I like her, I think. But like I said, I do think these changes are made to increase the size of an audience, but they haven't made the TV series for the fans. They're trying to sort of go for the biggest size audience that's available. And I do feel they've done this to the detriment of the characters, because as I look back on the TV series, Agatha Raisin does stand out because she's in every scene, but the other characters, maybe Bill Wong stands out, but only because he's completely different, and I don't want to sort of completely spoil it, because I sort of feel like I'm verging or have verged into spoiler territory, but I'm going to try and stop myself and leave it here. My biggest issue with the series is that it's so cozy, and I've become one of those people that love the books. I do enjoy the series. I don't hate watch it, but maybe I am hate watching it a little bit. No, I think that's a bit extreme, actually. I'm not hate watching. I'm watching, but it is driving me spare. I know technically I just panned the adaptation, but I do get some enjoyment out of it, and I think it's important to point that out. I'm not saying that it's completely unwatchable, because it's definitely watchable. I love the scenery. It's interesting to see the adaptation, and it's enjoyable. I'm just really cheesed off that what made the MC Beaton's Agatha Raisin world interesting has been removed. And I do get excited when I see an adaptation advertised. Eagerly, I go to the cinema or I open Netflix and I dive into the bookish adaptation. And I do this with the same attitude. I want to enjoy the adaptation, but at the same time, because I read the books, I've got this really strong opinion on how I want the adaptation to be, and I'm aware that I'm probably not going to get that. So it's a double-edged sword, really. So do you like book to film or book to television content? And do you have a favourite book to film or book to television show? Let me know by coming over to the blog post at author.adhay.com/TBN008 and share your thoughts in the comments section, or alternatively, join the brand new Book Nerd Reader Club Facebook group and start a discussion. There's a link in the show notes and on the blog post, so you can easily find the Facebook group. Thanks for listening, and happy reading, book lovers. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Book Nerd podcast. If you're new to this podcast or want to be notified about more episodes just like this, then click the subscribe button right now. You can find episode show notes and lots more information at ameliadhay.com/book-nerd. I'm your host, Amelia D. Hay, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time for another episode. Happy reading, everybody.